In this video, we're going to talk all about executive offer negotiation. One of the most important parts of the whole executive hiring process. Now, why is it so important? Well, you've probably experienced this. You get that offer letter, right? You've been in the job search for 2 months or 3 months or a year, and you get that offer letter in hand. And then what happens? You're so excited about joining this new company. Maybe you've got an increase in your title. What do? You just cannot wait to sign on the dotted line. Big mistake. Very, very big mistake. Because studies show that the average person, not the average professional, not even executives, loses out on $1 million over the span of their career simply because they don't negotiate their salary. Now, why is this? Well, if you know anything about business, and obviously you do if you're an executive, you'll know that a business's goal is all about increasing shareholder value, right? Or money for the owner. But how do you do that? Well, that's all about increasing profitability. And how do you do that? Well, that's all about increasing revenue, decreasing costs. And what's one of the biggest cost buckets for any company? Payroll, right? So all else being equal, a company is going to want to pay their employees as little as possible. Obviously, there's a balancing act here because you can't just pay your employees nothing, right? Because you want to hire good talent who's actually going to do great things for your company. But it's a balancing act, right? Like I said, all else being equal, they're going to pay the least amount possible for people not to quit, for people to actually accept the offers that they're making. So you need to understand this because there is always a range. There is always a range of salaries that a company is happy to offer for a certain role, right? Because they know the value that they're going to achieve by hiring this person. And they are always going to offer, at the highest, they're going to offer in the middle of the range. At the lowest, they're going to offer right at the bottom. Why? Because they want to reduce their payroll expenses. Right? They want to limit their payroll expenses as much as they can. In fact, right, did you know that some recruiters, actually quite a lot of recruiters, are incentivized to have the people that they bring into a company to accept the lowest offer possible, right? So the lower the salary that the person accepts when they accept their offer, the higher the commission that the recruiter is actually going to get. How crazy is that? But it makes sense when you think about the ultimate goal of a business. Now, what can you do about this? Well, first of all, I like to think about something that I call the Rolls-Royce effect. What makes a Rolls-Royce worth $300,000 versus a used Honda, which might cost $10,000? What's the difference, right? From a utility perspective, they're the same. They get you from A to B. Sure, the Rolls-Royce might be slightly nicer and get you there a little bit quicker, but essentially, they do the same thing. So why do people even buy Rolls-Royces? Why doesn't everybody just buy the cheapest car that they possibly can? Well, that's all about this value equation that I was talking about before. Companies want the best possible people, and they have a range within which they're going to pay that salary. Right? It's the same way if you're going out to buy a car, you have a range of prices that you're willing to pay. And if for whatever reason you think that a car that you see on the lot is going to fulfill you in a way that another one might not, you'll probably pay at the top of your range. And that's exactly what you need to remember when you're negotiating your offers. You cannot just go into negotiation thinking, well, I just deserve the top of this salary range, right? You need proof. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you need to understand what that salary range actually is. How do you do that? There's plenty of tools online, salary.com, Glassdoor, which will help you determine what that real salary range looks like. Now, you can never know for sure, but by looking at various data points, you can get a very, very good indication of what that salary range looks like at the company that you have that offer from. And if you know what that salary range is, that gives you massive leverage when going into the negotiation phase. So that's the first thing you need to understand. Now, the second thing that you need to understand is about you. What makes you deserving of the top of that range? What is it that you're going to bring to that role? Now, obviously, and this is what people forget, when a company has decided they want to hire you, typically it's taken weeks, months, or even years to find the right person for that role. And so what does a company not want to do? They don't want to lose you. They're not just like, oh, we'll just go to the next person on the list. That's not how it works. They're now invested in you, which means that you have negotiation room, which means that you have negotiation power. But it only works, right? You can only take advantage of that if you truly understand why you're the most valuable person for that role and what you're going to add, right? So when you go into your negotiations, you need to understand not only what the salary range is, but why you deserve the higher amount, the higher level, the top of the range that that company is going to offer in terms of those salaries. So those are the two data points that you need when you go into your negotiation. This is what you should do. You get that offer letter in hand. This is the first thing that you should do. The very first thing that you should do. Now, what do you do in terms of actually negotiating those offers? Well, there's various different schools of thought. But really, what it all comes down to is not settling. Really understanding and trusting that the company wants you. Because they do. Right? I run a company. Anyone else who has been in a senior executive position will know how annoying hiring actually is. Once you get to that stage, you've made an offer, you're like, oh, I'm done now. Right? Thank you. I've finally found this person who's going to solve my problems, who's going to exploit the opportunities that we have. The last thing that you want to do is for them to leave and go to a competitor for the case of $10,000 or $20,000. Right? I don't want to pay them that, but if that means that I've solved that problem, then I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to give it away for free, and you need to remember this. So go in there with that confidence because they want you. Being confident in negotiations is so important. So what do you do then? Well, you need to make sure that you are not going in and giving yourself away at the beginning because you don't know what the top of that range is, right? You don't know for sure. So when you actually go in and they give you an offer, right? Obviously, the first thing you need to do is counter offer. Now, you want to counter offer as high as you think feasible. Now, here's a really good trick, right? Now, I don't want money to get in the way of this. I've spoken with a number of companies and X is where I really want to work. Having said that though, I'm currently being considered for roles in the region of X, right? Currently in the region of 275,000. Let's say they gave you an offer of 230. That's it. So what you're saying is, I'm open to negotiation and I really want to join this company for non-financial reasons, but the finances are something that we all need to think about, right? And then you wait. Typically what will happen is you'll get a phone call from HR, you'll get a phone call from a recruiter, or you'll get a phone call directly from a decision maker. Yeah, we can do that. That's typically what happens almost all the time. In some cases, they say, well, we can't do that. Here's what we're going to offer, or here's a sign-on bonus, or here's some additional benefits. That's usually what happens, right? But sometimes, obviously, they will negotiate down, and then you come back with a counter-offer. Now, one of the things we do here at the Ambitious Exec, which really turbocharges this effort, is something that we call leverage, right? When you go into salary negotiations, which you should always do, as I said, the problem is you might not fully know what that range looks like. You might not fully know what your market value is. You might be currently underpaid, and then you might be lowballed with your new offer, but that lowball offer might be slightly more than your current offer, and so you might be offered, 320,000, and you think that's great. Currently, I'm only getting 290, but in reality, the value that you bring to a company is actually worth 400, but you would never even know that. So leverage is all about securing multiple offers at the same time. Because what happens when you secure multiple offers at the same time? Well, first of all, you have optionality. Optionality around not making a binary decision of should I leave my current role or should I join this new company? Right? You have options. Which company is going to give me the most fulfillment? Blah, 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 blah. All those other things which are important. But when we're talking about offer negotiations specifically, you can say, hey, I've got an offer from this company, and it's higher than the offer you're giving me. Now, I really want to work at your company for XYZ reasons, but I want the financials to make sense. What can they say about that? Right? I've helped so many clients do this. And when you have those other offers on the table at the same time, leverage, things are so much easier. And what can you do? You can pit those companies against each other, right? It's so powerful when you do that. So, this is why offer negotiation itself is so important. Right? I've given you some of the strategies that you can use to actually negotiate your offer effectively. But what's more important is having a job search strategy set up so that when you get to that negotiation point, you have so much ammo, right? So much market data backing you up that you understand your true value. And really, you don't even need to sell yourself as why you should be at the top of that range. You're just saying, someone else thinks I should be at the top of that range. Why don't you? Do you not value me as much as these other people? That's what this is all about. So, whatever happens when you're negotiating your executive salary, make sure that you have that market data. Make sure that you understand what's uniquely valuable about you, why you deserve to be at the top of that range. And then when you go in, make sure you don't talk only about the money. Make sure that that you explain the reasons for why you want to join that company, but make it known that finances are something that's important to you as they are to everybody. Leave that room for negotiation, and I promise you will get a raise that you probably didn't expect if it's something that you've never done before. I've seen crazy things happen. I've seen crazy salary increases from people doing exactly this, particularly when they have that leverage, when they have other companies to leverage against. So that is how you earn $1 million more over your career, simply by negotiating effectively. And if you're an executive, that $1 million could be 2 million, 3 million. Who knows? The sky's the limit. Because if you're a valuable person in the job market, you should be paid for it. You're going to be adding so much value to that company that you join. You should be compensated effectively or appropriately. And the way you do it is through effective offer negotiation. So next time you get a job offer, make sure that you do this.